Hello, thanks for joining us for this Wednesday webinar. I'm Scott Cook. I'm the Communications Director here at the South Carolina Department of Consumer Affairs. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about utility scams. And I wanted to start with an example that I came across as I was putting this presentation together. The other week, Santee Cooper and the Santee Electric Co-op both posted messages a day apart from each other. Santee Cooper was posting something where they had several businesses that had called them saying that somebody was trying to scam them, saying that they would cut the power off if they didn't pay in 30 minutes. And then looks like they updated that at some point and said residential customers are also getting that same call. And then on the right side of the screen, you'll see kind of a similar thing from Santee Electric Co-op, where they were saying some of their members were getting these phone calls saying you have to pay or you're going to be disconnected. And like they say there, that's a scam. Do not give the personal information. And if you're getting types of calls like this, hang up. And this is kind of one that I wanted to start out with because it is kind of one of the ones that we see the most, and it's the disconnection deception is kind of what we call it with this. It is basically scammers calling, threatening that they're going to cut off your bill or cut off your utility if you don't pay them right away. And a lot of times they're going to say they need prepaid cards. Those would be those kind of real loadable credit or debit cards that you can get at a retail store. They may say that you need to wire money to them. And a lot of times they'll ask for cryptocurrency in a lot of situations like this. I know some of the calls, they'll say go to the specific store or specific, Bitcoin or cryptocurrency ATM. They may say go to this ATM in this specific place and get this card and give us the information on the card so we can keep your service going. And just kind of know the important thing with this is that that's not really how utilities work. They're not going to call you out of the blue and give you, like that example from Santee Cooper. They're not going to say, we're going to shut off your power in 30 minutes. That's just not how they work. So normally they would give you a 10-day written notice before they cut off service. And again, that's usually because you haven't paid the bill or something like that, right? So you probably have an idea that you haven't paid that bill, but they're going to give you a 10 days written notice, and then they're going to give you a second notice a few days before that. So this idea that your utility is going to be shut off, and again, if that's natural gas, water, power, whichever one of those, they're not going to do that right away. They're going to give you that notice. So that's kind of the big warning sign with these types of scams, is that immediate threat, right? So they're going to say, we're going to cut off your power in 30 minutes. Give us money, give us this stuff right now, or we're cutting it off. And that's just not the way that utilities work. So that's kind of the big warning sign with these. And again, if they're asking for specific forms of payment, prepaid cards, cryptocurrency, wire transfers, just those things that you don't normally pay with, that's kind of the warning sign with that. Your utility likely knows that you probably have a bank account or a credit card or something attached with that account that you have with them. So those would be the kind of ways that they normally would kind of want you to pay. And they're going to give you kind of options. They're not going to say pay with one type of specific payment. So that's kind of the red flag with that one. Our other scam is kind of the opposite of that. Again, it's that power restoration charge. So they're going to call and they're going to say, if your power's out, they may give you a call and say, we can get this set up for you quickly. And a lot of times this is going to happen when there's those kind of widespread power outages. Excuse me, I'm getting choked up here. That's going to be during those widespread power outages. So those cases where there's maybe severe thunderstorms or hurricane, tropical storms, those type of things, when there's kind of massive outages, right? So they know a large group of people are dealing with this problem, and they're going to call, or in some cases it may even come to the door, but they're going to say, pay us, we can get this fixed up faster for you. And again, that's just not the way utilities work. If there is an emergency like that, they're going to come out, they're going to get it fixed for free. They're not going to charge you for that when they come out during an emergency like that that's affecting lots of people. So those reconnection fees that scammers are talking about in these types of emergency situations, they're just not the way that they work, right? So again, they're going to, possibly ask for those prepaid cards, cryptocurrency, wire transfers, things like that. Again, it's those things that aren't the usual form of payment, or if they're coming to your door, they may say we can get it for you for cash. So just kind of watch out for those types of things and realize those reconnection fees aren't really the way that utilities work during emergencies. Our next type is kind of an overpayment scam that they do, and they'll get in touch with you, and they're going to claim that you've overpaid your utility bill. They're going to say you need to give them either your bank account information or a credit card number or something like that in order to get a refund. So kind of the important thing to kind of think about if you're getting these types of messages. And again, it can be email, phone call, social media. Sometimes these things pop up on those types of platforms as well. But your utility likely has that payment history with you, and they know how you've paid in the past. So if you typically pay with a credit card, or you paid with a credit card the last time, they would be able to refund that credit card most likely. Or I know a lot of times it may come out direct deposit, or not really direct deposit, but they would do that direct withdrawal from your bank account or whatever. So if you're paying that way, that would probably be the way that a refund would be established. For some cases, they may just put it into your account and say, this overpayment will come out of your next bill. So those are kind of the types of ways that utilities would generally handle an overpayment if it happens, and they may even mail you a check. So know that they're not just going to contact you out of the blue like that and say, we've got money for you, give us a way to give it to you. So they've already got that relationship with you and already have, either that credit card access or bank account access, however you typically pay. And that would generally be how they would kind of facilitate that refund. Our next type of scam is kind of what we call an identification attack. And that's going to be a time where, they may get in touch with you. And a lot of times it will be a phone call, probably a robocall, or it might even be a text message, but they're going to tell you to either press 1 if it's a phone call to, get more information about a situation, or they may say reply if it's a text message. But kind of the idea is they're going to get a hold of you through either robocall or text message. And it's probably going to be pretty vague, where it's going to sound like there's possibly some type of problem with the account. It may not even really give the information of, the name of the utility company that you generally do business with, or, have service through. They're probably going to be pretty generic in that message, and they're just going to say, there's a problem with your energy bill. Hit 1 to speak to a representative. And once you do that, you're basically then contacting the scammer. And they're going to try to get any kind of personal information from you that they can, or they'll try to, convince you to give them money, or, again, those kind of prepaid debit cards, cryptocurrency, those types of things again. So, really they're kind of relying on some kind of shady language or something kind of worrisome to you to get you to contact them in a way. So once you hit 1 on that phone number, or you hit, yes or whatever on the text message, you're then kind of opening up that direct communication with them. So really kind of the important thing with this is just don't do that. A lot of times if you're getting those types of messages, you probably have access to your account through an online service or something like that. So, don't click any links that may pop up in these types of text messages or anything like that. You can go to your computer, your phone, whatever you use, and go to that utilities website directly and kind of take a look at those accounts yourself and see if there are, charges or whatever that's popping up on it. And you can contact the utility yourself as well. You can find those phone numbers that are either on your bill or on their, the trusted website that you would go to normally to pay your bill. You can use those kind of lines of communication to verify whatever it is that these messages are saying. I know a lot of times these types of identification attacks probably might be something that you get in your voicemail a lot of times. If you've got up a service that will send unknown calls or something like that to your voicemail, a lot of times you'll kind of get that robocall message of, hit 1 to, speak to somebody with this. And a lot of times that's kind of what that attack was, or what that kind of message was, this type of scam where they're trying to get you to, directly interact with them. So, if you've got those services or those things on your phone that are going to send those unknown phone numbers to your voicemail, that's a great thing to use and a great tool to do that. And it'll kind of help you, kind of avoid getting some of these messages as well. And if you're getting them as a text message, by all means, use that little button on it that says report spam, or it might say report junk. Use those features, and it'll kind of help you reduce those numbers of messages that are coming in to you that might be kind of tied into some of these types of scam attacks like that. Our next kind of form of utility scam is going to be that door-to-door guy who may come to your door and knock and just pose as a utility worker, and basically they're trying to gain access to your home for some reason. The kind of fear would be that they're trying to gain access to your home to scope it out for a burglary or something like that. So it's really kind of being mindful of who you let into your home, and just kind of know some of the signs. We've got a little picture here of, what an actual utility employee may look like, and what this, random person, a fake employee, may look like. And in those cases, the real employee is probably going to have a company ID, company logo on either, their uniform, their vehicle. They're probably going to have some kind of lanyards with some of that information. You can always ask them kind of who they are for that ID. And, before you would even think about letting somebody into your home, you're going to want to possibly give the utility a call and actually ask them if they're in the area. Most of the time, the answer is going to be no, but you're going to want to have that conversation with the utility. And again, those phone numbers that are on your bill and on their, verified websites, those are the types of things you're going to want to be mindful of. But really kind of the important thing to know with these types of scams are that, you really just need to be suspicious anytime anybody arrives at your house and claims that there's an emergency and you don't have an appointment. A lot of times it may be that they're saying there's a water leak or a natural gas leak, something like that, and they have an emergency and they need to check your house for whatever type of the situation is. Kind of if you haven't made that initial phone call, don't let people into your house is kind of the big thing with this. It's kind of the big guard, is just don't let unexpected people into your home, right? And so again, you're going to want to call the utility company. You can also ask for proper identification. And by all means, if things kind of sound suspicious and if there is that kind of threat for personal safety, you're going to want to call 911. And that'll get law enforcement involved. And, again, you can always ask to see photo IDs, things like that. That will help you as well. And a lot of times if it is kind of a scammer situation, the more questions you start to ask, the more they'll kind of possibly back away or kind of, you can kind of tell that they're frustrated, they're not getting in the house, or they're not getting the information that they want. So really just kind of ask a lot of questions to try to verify. They should be able to give you maybe an employee number or something that would identify them as an employee, that when you call or contact the utility, you'll be able to get that information that you can verify that they are who they say they are. One of our other scams that we see all the time is kind of these email scams, and this is kind of an older picture of one that we've got here on the screen for you. This one is from 2017, but these things kind of don't really change very much with email, so they will look similar to what you see there on the screen. The big thing with these are just really kind of know those warning signs of phishing. Just don't click on links or call phone numbers on random messages that you get. I know a lot of us do get these types of energy bills in our emails. I just got one today from my electric company with my bill on it. So, this actually looks pretty similar to what what I receive each month from my utility. But you'll kind of want to take a look at those email addresses that come in. This one has a no reply, and then it's got a bunch of numbers after the @ sign. It's got the company name possibly, and then a bunch of numbers or something after it. .com. A lot of times we'll see where they might put the energy company's name before the @ sign, then after the @ sign, it's gmail.com or Yahoo or whatever, some kind of account that your utility isn't using. That's kind of one of those warning signs. You might also want to look to see how many people are on that to message. A lot of times with phishing emails, you might have 50 people listed in that. And your utility company isn't going to send your bill to 50 people or more than just one person. So, that's kind of another one of those things to look out for. They have that kind of imitation of the utility graphics a lot of times, or sometimes they may even be generically vague, where it's just, like that says, electricity bill. It may not have the company name on it. So kind of use that as kind of a reference point as well to be able to kind of take a look and see if it looks like what you normally look like. Again, there's that kind of vague space of where it says click here to verify your account information. Your utility has your account information already. They don't need to verify it. So when you get something that asks you to verify an account, most of the time that's going to be a phishing attempt or something like that. So you're not going to want to click that link. Again, you can go to those websites directly yourself, that one that you use every month to pay the bill, and kind of check that way, or you can also call the phone numbers that are listed on the back of your bill as well. So don't, click those links or call any of the phone numbers that are listed on these types of things. And again, here's the thing at the bottom where it's asking for a payment request or a fee, or it's going to say, hey, there's a $12 late payment fee. Mine usually doesn't say that. It just usually says, here's the due date, and it may say there could be a fee if you're late, but usually it doesn't list a specific amount like this, at least on the ones that I see for my utility. So again, those are just kind of things to watch out for. A lot of times those due dates may be very close to the day that you got them. And again, it's that kind of idea that these scammers want you to rush. They want you to make this payment or click on this thing right away. They want you to be afraid that something's going to happen if you don't do it right now. So just kind of keep an eye on that. And again, anytime you're talking about due dates, you probably have that same due date every month, or at least mine do. They may fluctuate 1 or 2 days, but you generally know what that due date is. So a dramatic change to it isn't going to happen out of the blue. So just kind of keep an eye on those types of things as well. And again, anytime you have any questions about these emails or things like that, or if it's a text message or something like that that's got similar information, use those phone numbers and those website addresses that are true and trusted. And again, those are all going to be on their either the billing information you get every time, or those websites that are the legitimate website. And just don't trust the information that's in these, and don't use the websites or phone numbers that are in these types of messages. And we kind of started with the spoofing with the phone numbers. That is kind of one of the big ways that utility scams will happen, where these phone calls where they're just, making it look like your utility, your power company, your water company, or whoever. They're making it look like those companies are calling you. And they're doing that because they know you'll probably answer. If you recognize the name of the company calling, you're more likely to answer it. So they're going to make it look like somebody else is calling. And again, they're doing that because they know you probably trust that company or that service. So they know that if you get something that looks like that, you may be more likely to answer it. And then once you answer it, they can kind of start with their spiel of why you need to give them money or why you need to give information. Kind of one of the big things that is worth kind of pointing out is just don't give out account numbers or payment information, any of that type of stuff whenever you get these calls out of the blue. If it is your real utility that for some reason they would have to call you, they would know your account number. They would know when you paid them last. They would know kind of what that last payment amount was. These are all things that they should be able to tell you. And you can just simply hang up too. If you get this type of call, you can hang up and then again, call those numbers that are trusted, those on your bill, and then they'll be able to tell you why that person might have called, or if that was a legitimate concern that they had, why they were giving you a call in the first place. But again, things that you can do to prevent this type of stuff, call blocking apps are great. You probably have settings in your cell phone. If it's your cell phone that you're getting these to, you can set those up so any of these phone numbers that you don't already have in your phone just automatically go to voicemail, or that they're being screened some way, shape, or form like that. So those are all great things you can do. And if you're getting these calls, you're going to want to call the utility company and let them know that this is happening. And you're also going to want to use those features on your phone to block these callers so you don't get the same types of calls from them. And really the biggest thing that you can do to stop these is just simply don't answer these phone calls when they're coming in. So once they kind of know that your phone's active and that you're somebody who answers it, these scammers are going to call more and more frequently. So really the best thing that you can do is just have these systems in place that will make these things either go directly to voicemail, or if they're going through, just ignore them and send them to voicemail on your own. And as this happens more and more, you'll get fewer of the calls. They'll realize that you're not somebody who's going to answer the phone, and they'll stop calling you eventually. We've got a little bit of information here. So if you've downloaded the PDF of this, this is great information to have as well. These are just kind of some of those direct phone numbers to your utility services. These are some of the bigger ones that are around. I've also got a link there that will take you to the electric co-ops of South Carolina. And that's going to give you those direct numbers and links and things like that to those electric co-ops that you can use to verify these types of calls or verify that these things are coming in. And again, anytime you're getting these types of, I keep saying phone calls, but it could be emails, text messages, any of these communications, you're going to want to run it by your utility and make sure that they are legitimate. So, these phone numbers and things can kind of help you be able to verify any of these calls or text messages, things as they come in to you. And if you're getting these calls that are, scam calls, things like that, you can also report them to our agency. Like I said, you can go to that consumer.sc.gov, click on the how do I, and then there's that report a scam on there. So you can let us know that these things are happening in your community as well. Now we've got some of the kind of red flags of these types of scams. And, we tell folks all the time that scammers can change their tactics a lot. But, even as they change their tactics, a lot of the red flags are kind of generally the same of scams. So we like to talk about some of the red flags of just kind of any type of scams, but they are very much relative to utility scams. And again, they're going to pretend to be somebody you know or recognize. So in this case, they're pretending to be your electric company. They're pretending to be your water company or natural gas or whatever type of service. And again, they're doing that because they know you recognize that name. You're more likely to engage with them if you're getting a message or a call from somebody that you recognize. And they know that you probably trust that company too. And they know that, you may be dealing with them with business and stuff anyway, so you're more likely to possibly hand over money or information over if you're answering these calls. So just realize scammers like to pretend to be these, people that you recognize and that you know and that you likely trust. And again, they're going to say that there's a problem, or in this case, a lot of times there'll be a prize, but in case of utilities, it might be that refund, right? So they know that if you think there's a problem and you need to deal with it, or there's going to be, some kind of fee, or that you might have your power cut off or something, they know that if you get scared about a problem, you're more likely to react. Or if, you're promised of, a couple $100 in a refund, or even sometimes, 20 or 30 bucks with a refund, we might be, okay, yeah, I want that money. I've got bills to pay. Give me that money. So you might be more inclined to give that information over. So just kind of know scammers like to say that there's some type of problem or some type of reward in for it for you if you interact with them. So that's kind of one of those red flags to watch out for. And again, they're going to say you need to do something immediately. And they're going to pressure you to act immediately. Like kind of going back to that example from the start, they're going to say, hey, if you don't give us money or give us this type of payment in 30 minutes, your power is going to be shut off, right? So that's kind of that pressure to act, right? If you don't do something now, something bad is going to happen. And they know that if you have those time constraints, you're not thinking clearly. You're going to make decisions that you probably wouldn't normally make. So if you only have 30 minutes to come up with money to send them, you're probably thinking, oh man, how am I going to get this, over to this guy? How am I going to do this before this bad thing happens, my power shut off? So, just kind of really realize that anytime somebody's putting pressure on you to act immediately, it's likely a scam. And again, with utilities, especially they're required to give you at least 10 days written notice before. So you're not going to have that 30 minutes to act, right? So you would have at least 10 days in this situation before your power is going to be shut off or something like that. And then, like I said, there's also a second notice with it. So that kind of pressure to act immediately shouldn't really apply in this case. So just kind of realize if you're getting these types of messages, take a step back and realize I should have been notified already, right? So that's kind of one of those things to keep in mind with these utility scams particularly. And again, they're going to tell you to pay in a specific way. Your utility company isn't going to call and say, I want a gift card from you, or you have to pay in a prepaid debit card, something like that, or especially cryptocurrency. They're just not going to do it. They already have those forms of payment that you use. It's probably a, like I said, a direct line to your bank account or your credit card number or something that you've typically paid every month with. So just kind of keep that in mind with this. Your utility is not going to call and suddenly change the way that you have to pay. And again, always just kind of keep in mind anytime gift cards, cryptocurrency, prepaid cards, anytime those things are kind of being demanded, those are ways that scammers like to be paid. And they do that because they're hard to trace and they're just as good as cash. Once you give away the numbers on the back of one of those cards, it's as good as theirs. It's very hard to stop those payments because likely by the time you've given them the number, they've drained that card and they've already got it in an account somewhere. So just kind of know anytime somebody is telling you to pay in a specific way, it's likely a scam. And again, with your utilities, you've probably got a couple of options already with them. You can go to their office and pay with cash, or you can use your bank account, or you can use your credit card, whatever way you generally pay each month. And those are going to be the ways that you would generally pay with, anything that would come up with your utility. And as always, we like to give you a couple of quick tools, tips, things that you can do for free to be able to protect yourself and your personal information. If you haven't set up multi-factor authentication on any of your accounts, we encourage you to do that. And that could be something like, when you get a passcode sent to your text messages, where you then have to enter in like a 4 or 6-digit code, something like that. A lot of times it's something with like a face scan, something like that, that may go through and out. A lot of companies have a lot of different options. Most of the utilities probably have something set up with this. So if they don't, consider it, ask them why they may not have that set up on those accounts yet. But generally, a lot of companies already have those on there. So if those options are available to you, use them. And we tell folks to use that just because it kind of makes it twice as hard to get into your account in case somebody does get those access to those accounts and get that information somehow. So even if they do have the password, they're not going to be able to get in because that second step to get into the account is going to go to your phone or to your email, whatever kind of way you've set that up. But they've got to take that second step to get in, and that's going to you and not the scammer, hopefully. And if you're making payments online, use your credit card, not your debit card. And the reason we say that is just because there's more protections in place for credit cards. So if somebody does happen to get access to those codes, you've got a little bit more protection on it than if it is your debit card. And again, those debit cards are just going to be kind of direct lines to your checking or your banking accounts. And it's a lot harder to get that money back. And it's going to take it a while probably for the banks to do all the checking and things, fraud account checks that they have to do. So just know those credit cards are going to give you a little bit more protection, and they're not that kind of direct line into your money. So anytime you're putting in a payment online, especially, use your credit card. And monitor your statements. You can go to those websites and look at things, but you can also set up alerts. So if you're, I've got some set up so there's certain spending thresholds, like if you, spend $100 or, whatever the dollar amount that you set, you'll get that text message or maybe an email, depending on the type of account that you have and how you've set it up. But generally, you can go into those financial accounts, set up those alerts, and they'll send you, messages whenever you've done that. I know my accounts will send me messages anytime there's an online purchase or something like that. You've got a lot of different options likely. So, any of those alerts that are useful to you, set them up and use them, and they can kind of help you find instances of fraud as they happen, so you don't have to kind of let things pile up and deal with it later. And again, we always tell people keep an eye on your credit report, and that'll also kind of help you find instances of fraud. One thing we didn't really talk about, but utilities a lot of times they'll use that information in your credit reports, and it will show up on your credit report in some cases with utilities, depending on what it is and how it's being used. But those things may also show up on your credit report, so you can go through your credit report, make sure everything that's showing up on it is an account that you have and that it's accurate, and again, that it's something that you've set up and not somebody else. So if somebody's using your information to create any type of account, if it's a utility account, credit card, or some type of loan or something like that, that would show up on those credit reports. Annualcreditreport.com is the website we tell people to use. I know there's a lot of other sites that will give you the information for free, but annualcreditreport.com is authorized by federal law. And it's basically they're mandated to be able to provide this information to you. They're providing free credit reports every week. It used to be once a year that they would provide it to you for free, but now since the pandemic started, they've been doing it every week for free. Just make sure you're reviewing it frequently. At least once a year is a good rule. You may want to do it a couple of times a year. Probably not necessarily to do it every week, but go through a couple of times, make sure everything's accurate, make sure everything on it belongs to you. And if you're finding signs that somebody else is using your information, you can put a fraud alert on your credit. Basically, you would call one of the 3 major credit bureaus, and they would put the fraud alert in place for you. It's initially going to last a year. You can get it extended, but it's basically going to make sure that businesses take extra steps to verify your identity. They're, see that fraud alert, know that something may have happened, so they're going to take extra steps to verify that it's you before they issue any kind of credit to that person. And we recommend a credit freeze. So basically you would go to the 3 credit reporting agencies. You have to contact each of the 3, and you can place the freeze. And what it's going to do is it's going to stop people from accessing your credit reports. And it's also going to stop kind of new lines of credit from being formed or being created in your name. And basically that's a great tool that you can do anytime that you're not actively out, if you're not looking for loans or creating new types of credit, you can put the freeze in place. And then when if you need to buy a new car or if you need to get a new credit card, you can thaw it or lift that freeze. And again, that's going to be free to do too. You just contact each of the 3 credit bureaus. You can go to their websites or you can call their phone numbers. But if you lift those, it should happen within an hour, I believe, if you do it online or on the phone. It's about an hour process. They'll lift it, it's pretty quick. And then you can kind of apply for those new lines of credit. And once you've kind of done those things that you might need to do, you can put that freeze back in place. And again, that's going to protect your account. It's going to prevent other people from accessing it. And it's going to prevent new lines of credit to be opened in your name. So it's really a great tool to put in place to keep other people from using your credit. And again, if you think you're a victim of a scam or identity theft, you can call our office or go to consumer.sc.gov. With identity theft, we do have an ID theft unit that will kind of walk you through a lot of that process. And this is kind of one of the documents that they have that they'll kind of go through and see what you might need to do depending on your situation. Again, it's going to talk about looking at your credit report, the security freeze, those types of things, but they'll also kind of help you go through and see what types of accounts may have been put at risk, and they'll give you some recommendations on things that you might need to do to protect your information and protect those accounts. And I know sometimes we kind of, again, get questions about how do you stop these kind of scam calls, things like that. Again, really the biggest advice that we can give is just don't answer the phone when these things are coming in. If you're not expecting a call, you don't have to answer it, right? So, especially if it's a number that you're not recognized, send those to voicemail, just don't answer them. And, if you're getting these phone calls that are spoofed, always be kind of mindful whenever you're getting a call out of the blue, just realize that these calls can be spoofed, that they can make it look like somebody else is calling you or emailing you or text messaging you. Just kind of realize that those things can be spoofed. And if you're getting these types of messages, just kind of verify it yourself. Go to the utility directly, their website. Sometimes social media on their posts, depending on what the type of situation is. If it's a storm that's knocked out power in a pretty big area, a lot of times the utility companies will post stuff about it on, either their Facebook or on X, Twitter. They'll post those things on social media and kind of give information on when restorations and things may happen. So those are always good free resources that you can take advantage of too. You can just go onto their social media sites, see if they posted something. I know some utilities even have maps showing where outages and things are taking place and how long it will be before things are restored. So you can use those types of things. And again, use the phone numbers that you know are trusted. Those that are on your bill, those that are on their website. Again, we have that PDF that was attached that has that information as well for a lot of the utilities. So those are all good ways to, directly contact the utility and use those verified sources to be able to get information to them. And again, if you've fallen victim to a scam or given information away, kind of the big advice is, contact us. You can contact the utility as well. If you've given information about your account number or something, let the utility know. And they'll kind of walk you through steps that you might need to take with them to protect that account. You can report scams, identity theft situations to our office. Then we have an identity theft unit who kind of walk you through that process, look at what type of information you may have given away, and kind of help you walk through those steps of people you may need to contact to deal with that. If you've given away banking account information or credit card information, you're going to want to contact those companies directly. So, contact your credit card or your bank, let them know what happened. They'll probably change your numbers or something. They'll have some systems in place to be able to help you out. But really, that's kind of going to be your big step to take if you have given those information away. So contact the utility. You may want to contact your, financial institution. You contact our identity theft unit. We can kind of walk you through some of these processes as well. We appreciate you joining us today, and we hope you'll join us on our next Wednesday webinar. Thank you.